Did you know the EU and US are pointing fingers at India for buying Russian oil? Will they quietly keep trading with Moscow themselves? Stick around as we uncover the shocking hypocrisy behind this global trade drama. So be ready. Welcome back to the Untold Facts, where we dive deep into the stories the mainstream won't touch. Today, we'll be breaking down India's bold clapback at the US and EU over their so-called double standards in the Russian trade saga. Let's get into it. India has just fired back at the United States and the European Union, accusing them of unfairly targeting New Delhi for its Russian oil imports. On August 4, 2025, India's Ministry of External Affairs dropped a bombshell statement, calling out the West for what they say is blatant hypocrisy. Why? Because while the US and EU criticize India's energy deals with Russia, they're still doing billions in trade with Moscow themselves. Let's set the stage. Since the Ukraine conflict began in 2022, India has ramped up its Russian oil imports, going from just 0.2% of its total imports to over 35% today, making Russia India's top oil supplier. Why the shift? India says it as simple. Traditional Middle Eastern suppliers redirected their oil to Europe after the war broke out, leaving India to secure affordable energy elsewhere. And guess what? The US actually encouraged India to buy Russian oil early on to stabilize global markets. But now, US President Donald Trump is threatening to slap hefty tariffs on Indian goods, starting with a 25% duty set to kick in on August 7th because India is buying massive amounts of Russian oil. Trump even claimed India is profiting by refining this oil and selling it globally. India's response: they're not having it. The Ministry of External Affairs called this targeting unjustified and unreasonable, pointing out that the EU racked up 67.5 billion euros in trade with Russia in 2024, including a record 16.5 million tons of liquefied natural gas. Meanwhile, the US is still importing Russian uranium, palladium, fertilizers, and chemicals for its own industries. Talk about double standards. India is not alone in this fight. Both the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party and the opposition Congress have united to condemn Trump's remarks, with Congress leader Manish Tiwari saying they hurt the dignity and self-respect of Indians. India is also pushing back on EU sanctions, like those targeting Indian refiner Naira Energy, partly owned by Russia's Rosneft. New Delhi insists it doesn't support unilateral sanctions and will do whatever it takes to protect its economic security. So, what's the bigger picture? India is standing firm, saying its energy choices are driven by the need to keep costs predictable for its 1.4 billion citizens. With trade talks with the US scheduled for August 25th to 29th in New Delhi, things are heating up. Will India bend to Western pressure, or will it keep calling out the hypocrisy? Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time. That's the untold truth behind India's showdown with the West. What do you think? Is India right to call out the US and EU? Or should it rethink its Russian ties? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this deep dive, and subscribe to the Untold Facts for more stories you won't hear anywhere else. See you in the next one.